check on that. Did you know about creepy pies?
Oh yes, I have a whole article that I sent to my mother. I'm dying for joy. It's my once more I find myself away from home on my birthday, and I could die for joy. I just had my monthly shower, and I made myself an icebox cake. And I explained to my in the letter, I took the crust of the black bread. We used to peel that off and grind it up. We took the cans and we punched holes in so we can make a grind, and we ground that up. And then I would take the powdered milk from the Red Cross parcel and a chocolate bar and grind that up and mix it together, and then pour it into the shell of the crust that I made out of the black bread. And it was what they call an icebox. I said, just think of what I could do at home with the proper utensils. I said, I'll never take anything for granted again, you know. And the letters, he tell it all, you know. But I had a shower and I had an icebox cake.
You put snow in it? Yeah.
No.
Oh, no?
No, just the milk and the chocolate mixed together and then into that crust of bread. And with margarine and everything else that held it together. And it was good. There's so much energy in those black chocolate bars that they used to give us. You light up. Yeah. And they had a habit of putting Vienna sausages and some other stuff. Very fancy. The cotton. It was nutritive, you know, but Vienna sausages. What the hell else? The milk, Klim cans. We used to call them. Made everything out of Klim cans. Washing machines, everything.
Explain that. Washing machines.
We folded opened up the cans, and then hammered them together. And then they took a stick with a plunger, and they put the wash in there and washing machine. They were ingenious, those guys. The kids were ingenious.
You guys made, I guess, for the escape tunnels, they did the oxygen hoses.
That's right, out of the Klim cans. And they have they built what do you call it? Like a fan.
Bellows.
Bellows, that's the word I'm looking for. And they built a bellows and they pumped it in. And then they hand the sand back.
And I guess there were the buckets too, to dig the dirt.
Oh, sure. All the utensils were made. Homemade. Yeah. I like the way they cut through that 2x12 floorboard with they got a barrel stave someplace, a piece of metal, and they chipped out teeth. And when they got that hole, they cut through this 2x12. It took a lot of work, and then they saved the sawdust, mixed it with just dirt, you know, and rubbed it over the cut. When they picked it up and then he put it back, you couldn't tell it was cut through. Once they built under the stove in the middle of the room. They built under that. They picked the stove up and move it, go down, put it back. Go figure, it's under the stove. They had a chapel behind our building. This padre was captured in North Africa, so he was the clerical person there, and he used to hold Jewish services too on a QT. And that place didn't collapse. It's a wonder because it was under that thing, man.
All the holes went under the chapel.
Yeah, under the chapel. Well, most of them. We were the barracks next to the Russian compound. There was our barracks, a little bit of ground, and then there were poles stuck in with barbed wire. And then in between there were old cans where the Germans threw all the cans. And then another set of barbed wire, so that in between. And the Russians were on the other side. So the best thing to do is to go into the Russian compound exchange a Russian for an American or whatever you're going to send out, and the Russian would stand roll call with us. They used to be able to go out on the farms and work, so it was easy once you get over there to get around. But they captured everybody that went out. We had a whole slew of guys go out, but they brought everybody back.
Did anybody get shot?
Before I got there, the guy was shot at the fence, and they shot into the barracks also. They give them a good excuse to fire, I guess. They hit somebody in the buttocks, but they had a funeral and everything. When somebody escaping, they shoot everywhere.
Can only imagine. Is the light still going?
Yeah, yes, we're still on.
We just double check the time. We're getting. Still got almost 20 minutes on this.
This the end?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
Have you sitting down for a long time?
No, I don't mind sitting there. Standing up is bothers me. You don't look comfortable. That thing is the most uncomfortable thing I ever saw. I can't even get out of it.
It's not. Well, I'm more worried about my beef kind of pushing it down, but I think I'll be all right.
You can't hurt it.
Well, I'm doing okay. Did you ever feel though treated differently because of your heritage, because you were Jewish, by the Germans in any way?
Not the Germans, just one guy from Texas.
No kidding.
Yeah. I knocked the hell out of him. His name was Whaley from Texas. And he fought like a stupid Texan. When I called him on it, he started flailing like this. I just picked him off.
Was this in the camp?
Yeah.
And how did it happen?
We're supposed to go out to roll call. And according to protocol with the prisoners, nobody was to go back into our barracks until the barrack leader went through and picked up any propaganda, any paraphernalia that the Germans left there, which they used to do against the law. It's against the Geneva Convention. And so when the Gestapo would come through, so somebody would go in and always clear the place, and then we start a bonfire alongside the barracks burning the propaganda. They couldn't say anything because it wasn't supposed to be there. Well, Whaley found a piece, and he's flagging it around. So I called him on it, So this, that, and pretty soon we were swinging at each other. But I paid him back. Man didn't know anything about defending himself.
Laid him out.
Yeah.
Did you guys get any recreation at all at the camp? Were you allowed any?
We made our own. They got some instruments from Geneva. And they started a band. We had a library with some books in it. And once in a while, the Germans would show a movie, bring a movie in. And we used to play football with a bunch of rags with the belts tied around it. Use that as a football. And we played. Then one day we had a baseball game, and the German officers came out to watch it. So these guys were hitting foul balls to them sitting on the sidelines. And then we'd have a boxing match, and all those things we put on ourselves. And you can pretty much keep occupied, But most of the time it's like grubbing for food or doing something illegal.
It occurred to me as we're doing this, I got to thinking about it because I know that there was quite so many escape attempts and you had the tunnels and everything else. It's kind of insane since you're in the middle of Austria, because where could you go? I mean, Switzerland's pretty far away, I think.
We had the clothes, we had everything, and.
But I guess the gist of it is, was it really genuine attempts to escape, or was it more to annoy the Germans?
No. Genuine attempts. Then they said they had put up death zones, farms in and around the camp had snipers. and that anybody not knowing where they are, the people would know that you didn't go out, you didn't walk in those areas. But if they saw anybody, they would shoot them. But the Gestapo kept bringing guys back. You know, he said, yeah, they slap you around a little bit, but nothing too much. We had guys sneaking into the camp, French, English, whatever. They came in. I don't know where they came in from as regular prisoners of war, but they were different people. I have a book that this guy Ben Phelps. Ever hear him?
I think I have heard of that.
Well, I have his book here. He has all the pictures of the camp. If you would like to look at it, I'll show it to you. But I got a lot of stuff. I want to take it up to the Mighty Fifth and maybe donate it to them. I don't know, because I have no need for it anymore. Mighty Eighth. I'm sorry.
Mighty Eighth. I was going to ask you Fifth. I knew there was a 15th and the 8th, but I didn't remember the 5th. I had a question. What was the escape committee? So I guess, did you know about the escape committee? Or?
No, I was never in on that. I was under my bed, but that's all I knew about it.
So you never helped dig it or
No,
or get involved in it?
I was never involved in it. Except for, you know, ditching the dirt, which everybody joined in.
Everybody was part of that.
Yeah.
They weren't too harsh though with you guys, with as far as when the escape attempts failed and they rounded up the guys and brought them back and.
Well, they put them in the boob, you know, solitary confinement. That was nothing.
For how long?
I don't remember. You know.
But they didn't punish the rest of you guys for those things.
No.
Just the people who had done it, I guess.
You know, who were out. Well, they don't know who did it, but they knew who was out.
This getting more into, I guess, reflections of the war itself. Did you have any feelings immediately after the war was over about what you just experienced? Any time to really reflect on?
You're not going to tell a VA, are you?
No.
No, I just wanted to get the hell out, get back to my life. I intended to enlist for 3 years, and then they started the stupid war, and I was there for the duration.
You were stuck there an extra 4 or 5 years.
3 years. Yeah. But actually, that's what I was trained for.
And you said you hadn't really maintained contact with any of the guys who were with you.
My assistant engineer called from Chicago one time, and he was getting money for flak wounds and everything else, which never happened. But he suffered pretty good. He was the last one to come up, you know. And but he's the one I heard from, and the navigator. Navigator wrote to me. I called one time, and the kid answers the phone, and they asked for him. He can't come to the phone, but my mommy's coming home soon. He can't talk, so there was something wrong with him. So when he died, she sent me a letter telling me that he passed away. And then I saw his name in the XPOW taps. I saw Chester Shattuck's name. That's the only two I've seen. So I guess they're all gone. I mean, I'm 85, so they must have gone on somewhere. The only ones are the ones from Massachusetts. Nah, not even that. I wanted to stop in Massachusetts and see Gil, the co-pilot. But I always was driving by and on the way home or something. I never went out of my way. It would have been nice. If Winslow might be alive, for all I know, but who the hell knows? He's up in age now. I never heard from him, which is unusual.
He was the
pilot. I thought I would hear from him, but not at the old address or anything like that.
Did you ever, I guess, well, you mentioned that during the war you had pretty deep-seated hatred for the enemy.
Oh yeah. I didn't like him one bit.
How did you feel after the war? Did it change at all, or was it magnified?
I felt indifferent about it after the war. We're done and over with it. So I didn't harbor too much. Feeling one way or another about them. It was over, and that's it. The evil king was gone, and Mussolini was gone, and Japan was gone. So.
When did you learn about the Holocaust?
Oh, there. When we were walking across Austria, we came to this concentration camp. And strangest observation I ever made was they had one body with the stripes in a wheelbarrow, and they were walking with the kid about 10 feet away eating an ice cream cone. Weird. And in our return trip to Austria, we went past this concentration camp that's still there. The Austrian government put up to do about it, but it's still there. And it showed all of the evils. This one was a place where they were milling stone, cutting stone out of a quarry, and they had to carry the stone up these hills, which without food and everything else, they were killing themselves. There was one little plot in the middle of this whole thing with a little Jewish star on it, and it had the name of a woman that had died and was buried there. I cried like a baby.
Just at the thought of it. And did you have a sense of what? I mean, you saw it firsthand. You actually saw it at a time when most people hadn't, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you really know what was going on? Did you have an understanding?
No.
It was just a hint, really.
Yeah.
After the war, when you finally found out, what was your reaction?
Well, it sort of came on bit by bit. It's not like it's something that hits you. And but being there in person, they had these tables where they did the experiments, and it was awful. Inhumanity, And it all because these people were passive. That's why I like to see something like Israel. People who stand up for what they want. If you don't, there's a step all over you. That's the way it is.
That's a tragedy, I think, too, is the idea that, I think so many who were there I think it got them by surprise.
Didn't expect it. No, they didn't believe it. How can we're Germans?
Right.
We're Germans. They thought they were hot stuff. Everybody hated them because they were so proud to be Germans. No.
These are kind of grandiose questions that I'm almost embarrassed to ask, but I guess just to try to put it in perspective now, because considering it's 60 years later, and we have our own things going on now and everything else. What do you think I guess, and as I wrote it here, what place in history do you think the war has for America?
Which
World War II.
Well, we the liberators. We saved the world, actually, for democracy, whatever that is. But we saved the world. We fought evil. Our democracy and what it stands for is shown to be stronger and people are willing to fight for it and die for it. Very important that we be here. I mean, we're the great experiment. Where do you find something like America? I mean, we're not the greatest in the world. I mean, there are a lot of things that are not too great about America. But it's the most outstanding experiment in human history, I think. People have the chance to look at the Haitians here. I got a Haitian that comes to do my garden, and I pay him for what he does here. His son is a doctor. He just came over from Haiti. His son is a doctor. And he's one of the nicest people you'd ever want. He's sweet, soft. And they're all trying to get here by the thousands a day across the Mexican border. Why are they trying to get here? Because we're terrible. No, we're a wonderful, wonderful country. And geez, let's try to keep it that way.
Is that kind of, how do you feel that? Because it is kind of, you got to witness the example of, in a way, maybe one of the rare examples, in life of good really triumphing over evil in that sense. Because America triumphed over Japan and Germany, over tyranny.
That's right. That's right. Regardless of the fact that how we got into a war with Japan, we were squeezing them by the oil. And they were on an expansion kick, and we were in the way. So they knew sooner or later they were going to have to butt heads, and they figured they were trying to knock us out one shot.
So
actually, they did us a favor, got rid of those oldie Rust cans. We built a new fleet.
That is true, I guess, yeah. What are your thoughts and feelings as far as what would you want to convey to young men and women today about the era that you went through, especially considering what they may have to go through in the immediate future with what's going on now?
Well, I feel sort of sorry for them because we had an enemy. We knew who he was, and we knew what he was, and we were fighting him. Today, we don't know the enemy. It's terrorism, which is worse than ever. Worse than look at the buildings in New York. I feel sorry for the youngsters today because I don't know what the future is with this. Where is it going? Where is it going to end up? Muslim against Christian, and the Jew in the middle, which is always the case. They'll blame us for everything. And well, Israel is strong now, and she'll do for herself what she wants to do. She's not going to listen to anybody. She'll do what's good for her, which is what should be, like every other country in the world. But even so, with all of that's going on there, she's a powerful good in medicine and science and everything else. And I always believed that the Arabs were crazy. With Israel in there, they could have, taken off on that model and done something, because there are wise people there just as any place else. Sure. But they want to continue this hate and this bitterness. So I'm worried. I don't know where this is going. Like we did with the Japanese, you're going to have with the Muslims.
The internment, you mean?
Whatever. We have that already. Yeah. Guantanamo.
How did you personally feel about the war in Iraq? Did you have any feelings about it?
Yeah, I felt we shouldn't have gone in there. In retrospect. Because there's no way to extradite yourself. And these people are calling for terrorists from all over the world to come and fight there. You don't have Iraqis fighting you there. You have Syrians, you have Jordanians, you have this and that. Every Muslim sect from all over the world willing to blow themselves up. Yeah. When the people are like that, how the hell do you talk to them?
I found it interesting, though. That seems to be universal. The universal consensus with everybody I've interviewed is none of them have been very happy about this war that we've embarked on now.
Well, I don't see why it was necessary. They knew he didn't have anything. That's the problem. The lies that go on. They knew he didn't have anything. They didn't find it there when they were looking for it. Yeah. I just more important. You look at Pakistan and India. they have it.
Yeah, they had it in North Korea, and now Iran wants to get them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you see what the world is coming to. That's very sad.
That's terrifying.
And it's all over.
Does that ever make you feel kind of frustrated in the fact that you were out there?
No. I feel like everybody else at this point. It's dangerous. A dangerous world.
Well, in the sense that you were part of the U.S. saving the world back then.
Well, yeah.
And now after having done that, after the effort you put in, after having been a prisoner of war, after having to go up every day and get shot at, and 50 years later, here we are. And
well, all of the countries that we fought against are having problems with terrorists, just as we are. So it's something that's a religious thing. How the hell do you fight with people who are willing to die, blow themselves up like that? It's horrible.
go ahead.
Well, I said, do you remember Queen Isabella? Where everybody who wasn't a Christian was crucified? Number one. I said, you remember the Holocaust? Number two. Do you remember, I named a couple other things. I said, where's God? Where is God? The God you profess to love. I said, it's okay if you want to believe that. I said, but I lost it when my radio man was genuflecting and he forgot to take his gun out of the dam. So I said, I lost it. What you believe is fine. And she says, you're a very nice man, she says. She takes my hand and kisses me on the cheek. I took her hand, I kissed her on the cheek. I said, God bless you. But this is very unusual to meet, a doctor in the hospital to try to get you to believe in God. It's straight from state here, but watch yourself. But, she was very devout. She went into a haze of heavenly joy when she talked about her religion. She loved it. So I said, wonderful. If you can do that, it's wonderful. And I love you and love you and love you for doing that. But don't lay it on me. So we parted friends. She gave me a cheek kiss. So that's where religion stands with me. I don't know.
Were you religious before?
No.
Never?
No, I didn't get the formal training when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. This absentee business of family and everything. So I didn't go through my mother kept a kosher home, and my father was PO'd at the local rabbi. But other than that, he used to say his prayers at home. He says, God is everywhere. And he used to put on these things and say his prayers every morning. And my mother would, kept a kosher home. If she used one spoon or something, a utensil in the wrong way without meat and dairy, I'd have to go out and bury it in the backyard for a couple of days. That's how they cured it. That's what they believe. My father used to make 3 barrels of wine every year and 12 gallons of whiskey. He had a still in the basement. I can always tell when my father was home. The little flies were all over the place. But he wasn't a drunkard. When he'd come home from work every day, had a refrigerator, not the icebox, take his one shot, and that's it. Never got drunk or anything.
Like a bracer, I guess.
Yeah, to forget what he had to do all day. Worked hard.
What did he do again? He was
Shoe manufacturer. Not manufactured. He manufactured shoes. He worked in a factory. During the Depression, everybody worked as well as they could, except me, and used to bring their money home. My mother used to give them enough for coffee and lunch. They managed. When my sister was born, she was born with the ventricle open. So the blood always rushed through her lungs and she continually passed out. So the doctor said, take her to fresh air or something. So they moved to Coney Island, about a block off the ocean. And she died at 81. Well, they developed an operation in New Jersey at that hospital. Bakey and all of those people were there. And they sealed it with a patch. And she was okay. She got married, but never had children. But because this operation came a long time after that. But she lived to be in the 80s. So I've never, all my life, I was carrying around it. She painted, you know.
It's incredible the ironies in life, you know.
Yeah.
You never expect something like that, but yet still, you know, 81 years old. And this is the last thing I'm going to ask is I guess about the movie.
Okay.
About Stalag 17. What did you think of it? What did you think of the movie when you first saw it?
I didn't like it.
No?
I didn't like it. I thought they were making a big joke out of everything. And I thought the life there was funnier than the picture. Really, for the little things that, you know, this business with the guy, what's his name? I forget what his name is. So stupid. It's unbelievable in the picture.
Schultz?
No, the American. He was in love with,
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He annoyed,
big dopey guy.
yeah, he annoyed me so much. He annoyed me so much in the picture because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't realistic. Nobody's that stupid. And then the little gimmick they had with the chess piece and everything was all Hollywood.
What about the Seaford character, the William Holden guy? What did you think of that character?
Not so, unless, you know, I wasn't in every barracks, so I don't know what went on. There were guys that really dealt with the guards and got things that I know. I didn't. I never had anything to do with it, but there.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Alice. I'm in session now. I'm in session now. Okay, lover. Oh, yes, I showed them everything. Goodbye.
That's
Alice, my daughter, the nurse. She's home. She got me the stupid thing. Time I don't know how to work it.
I still haven't gotten one of those.
No, you don't want it.
No, I'm kind of against it. And I'm starting to notice though that I might need one because just from doing this kind of stuff.
Well, you do if if you're on the road or something.
Yeah, but I can't stand the thing.
I can't either because I got 100 telephone numbers in here. Everybody you ever knew. All you have to do is press. And I keep forgetting how to do it. It's a wonder I got her.
The thing that drives me crazy is that I have a friend of mine now. He got rid of his regular telephone and now he just uses his cell phone.
That's what's going to happen
Yeah.
all over.
But every time he calls me,
Yeah.
we'll be talking for maybe 20 minutes because we always have long conversations, you know, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it happens to be. And the phone cuts out all the time.
Really?
Yeah, it runs out of juice.
Oh, well, I have
know?
I have a plug-in in the bathroom. I keep charging it, and I have a car charger too. But
Or sometimes even if he just walks around in his house.
oh yeah, because you
signal.
lose the signal.
Yeah. Oh, and then so I'll be in the middle of something, and all of a sudden I'll hear it click. You know.
She called me from all the way upstate in Florida, and apparently she got a very powerful signal.
Mm-hmm.
and I was holding the phone out to here, and anybody in the room could. But I still haven't learned half of the things that my damn grandkids, they know everything about everything. They make you feel stupid when they come over and say, this way. I don't remember.
I barely grew up with the computers, so I mean, I know the computers to some extent, but the newfangled stuff.
I have a computer. I play solitaire. I get some emails from my son in Connecticut. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm about the same. So a guy like the William Holden character, I guess there were operators like that. There were guys who I guess traded for that.
I'm sure.
Because he has such
not to his extent.
Right.
Not to his extent. For little things.
It's hard to believe a guy like that, if he was that severe, would be tolerated by the other prisoners.
Yeah, they would get a little beat at him. Yeah, he even had this other kid working for him.
Oh. Did you have? Do you think your heritage gave you any cultural perspective? I guess beyond some of the stuff that we talked about, as far as the war itself.
What about
the fact that? Do you think that? Which I guess is kind of a redundant question because we kind of talked about it, but the fact that you're Jewish, do you think that gave you a kind of a perspective, a unique perspective on what the war meant? I guess.
No, I felt no different than any other guy. Religion didn't enter into my mind at all. Although, but I went in to see the prisoner of war representative down at Riviera Beach, and in walks this tall guy, elderly guy with big ears. He's old. And he introduced him. He says, "This is the hero of Israel." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, he was on a bombing run, hit a chemical plant 2 miles from the big Auschwitz, and his bombs fell 2 miles short, and he blew up the SS barracks with all of the German SS guards in there. Fact. He says, here's a cassette. Here's a picture of the bombing. So he screwed up, and his bomb fell short, and they blew them away. So they invited him to Israel, made a hero out of him. I said, "How do you do?" And then the next day, I see it in the paper, the story.
Unbelievable.
The hero of Israel. Blew the damn thing right off the map. That's a pretty good, shortfall, 2 miles.
Yeah. Good for him.
Well, they're always saying, why the hell didn't they bomb the railroad going there? At least that would have slowed them down. But they never did anything. And the answer was, well, they had more important things to, like send me all the way around.
Yeah, that's got to ring kind of false. I guess,
Yeah. Well, the Buckwell factory was important. That really were planning the invasion and everything. There's another thing they screwed up. I had a young man that lives on this block, Herb Segall, was in the first or second to hit the beach in Normandy. And the stories he tells were really something. He met the guy, he was invited back by the government to go back there. And he spoke to this other gentleman that was in his squad when he went ashore, and the guy wanted somebody to talk to. What was it? He was ashamed of himself because he buried himself with bodies on the beach in the sand when they were being shot at. He hid under the body of a dead soldier, so this was bothering him. Hell, I would have done the same thing too, so if I could stack them up. But there they were. They were pinned down, and the guys were dying or blown to bits all over the place. The water was running red, and they were floating in the water. So he hid behind a dead body. That was the only thing that was it. The preparation was lousy. See how these guys were allowed to sit on that bluff above. I went back on the 50th anniversary, and I stood there. They had a reenactment of the fleet coming in. And you look down on that beach, these poor guys.
Yeah, it was a turkey shoot.
Yeah, that's right. And they had the gun set up back further, aimed right in there too. But you can see that when they show you the pictures of it, the water jumping up all around with the bullets.
Did you see Private Ryan, the movie?
That was the best I've ever seen.
I
And
really,
that and Memphis Belle.
yeah. What do you think of the Memphis Belle?
Wonderful,
Really?
wonderful. So realistic, so realistic.
It was like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with Private Ryan, I teared up on that, those first 30 minutes or whatever.
It was such a scene with the bullets hitting those metal things and no place to hide. That wasn't done right. If anything else, just a goddamn smoke screen. Have a plane zoom down there, lay in smoke, something.
That was amazing to me that there no air support of any kind. Right?
They said they bombed it, but
Mhm.
the hell did they do? They should have bombed it the day when they should have strafed it the day they went in. That's when they should have done it, not the day before or the night before.
And I think they were bombing further inland, like at those positions where they thought reinforcements were going to come from and things like that. But
that beach was hell.
it's amazing too because they weren't even defended right. The Germans didn't have that many guys there either.
No, all they needed was machine guns shooting crisscross.
But I know Rommel and all the other guys were still waiting in Calais for the thing to be all the way up over there. So I mean, imagine if they had known where it was coming, it would have been it would have been a rout.
And if the schmuck hadn't been sleeping and they got the Tiger tanks down there, there'd been another story too.
We can thank the Germans.
Der Führer schluft. The Führer sleeps. They didn't want to wake him up.
We're very lucky in a way that the high command was so stupid in so many ways.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think I could have done better on that invasion. I think, in retrospect, that is. I'd have bombed the beach and put with 1,000-pound bombs and make trenches or something that somebody could jump into. But they're standing right out there on that flat beach. My God.
Right under the bluffs. I'm curious, do you speak Yiddish? Or do you have
No.
No?
I understand it. That's why I understand a lot of what the Germans were talking. It's very similar. A lot of it is taken from German. So I understood pretty much, unless they got into technical things, but I could understand.
Were you in any way, or did the other prisoners know you understood? Did you translate or do anything like that?
No, there was nothing to translate. The Germans always spoke English when we were there.
And I guess the final thing, even though we covered a lot of it, but I love this story so much.
What's that?
Do you remember any other little things you guys used to do to screw with their heads?
Well, I told you. We used to stand in front of them and hold out a cigarette or a piece of chocolate, and when they'd reach, they hand it to the other guy on the other side. You're a Superman.
Did they understand you though? When you would tease them like that?
Yeah. You're a Superman.
What was their reaction when you said that?
Huh?
What was their reaction when you said that?
Nothing. They didn't do anything.
You know, the movie they show the guys holding the comb was imitating Hitler and stuff like that.
No.
Anything like that?
No. You're too excited.
But I'm surprised you guys were never punished for any of this stuff because it sounds like you guys were just bullied, you know, to the extent that you could.
We tried. It was like, you had all day to think about what you wanted to do.
But they never really retaliated about it.
No. Well, they wouldn't go tell the Obermeister that we did that to them.
Oh boy, it's some kind of experience, I'll tell you. I think that's pretty much a wrap. I think we covered everything. Quite a few times actually, which is great because the more ways that the story comes out, the richer it is. You know.
Okay.
And that's the good thing. So I'm gonna close that.
You put in a day's work.
Yeah, hey, this isn't work for me. It really isn't. This for me.
You're really a buff.
Oh yeah. No, this is a pleasure for me.